Good morning. This is Don V with Truth Be Told, and we have a couple interesting reports I'd like to bring for you about decertification. But before we move to those, please remember to subscribe. Over 90% of the people who view my videos are not subscribers. Just subscribe, click the bell, and share. Really helps my numbers out, and it helps my channel grow. At any rate, without ado, let's move to the first one. It says, Arizona State Senator Wendy Rogers, the cover-up is always worse than the crime. We hate to hold Maricopa County accountable. Well, we have to hold Maricopa County accountable. Arizona State Senator Wendy Rogers has been a strong fighter for Americans' audit, recently leading the charge to recall Arizona's presidential electors. After the Arizona audit hearing, Rogers called for a new fair election and labeled Fox News Breitbart fake news for his cooperation with the Democrats. Wendy Rogers has been the loudest voice for decertification in Arizona, leading to shout-outs by President 45. Gateway pundit Jordan Conradson spoke with Wendy Rogers about her thoughts on Maricopa County's fraud election and what decertification would actually take. Looks like we have video here, so I'm going to go ahead and play it for you. I won't let me make it larger. It's about 7.5 minutes.
This is Jordan Conradson with the Gateway Pundit. I'm here with Arizona State Senator Lieutenant Colonel Wendy Rogers. She is Arizona's fighter for election integrity. So the Arizona audit hearing revealed some shocking findings. What stood out to you the most, and what do you think the consequences should be for those responsible for these discrepancies or crimes or whatever you would want to call it?
Well, thanks for having me on, Jordan. I'm here in my backyard in Flagstaff, Arizona, which is where I represent northern Arizona from. I would say that the things that really jumped out at me from the hearing last week was, the 37,000 plus security queries in March that occurred, where logs were deleted, the almost 4,000 registered voters who, registered and then voted after the October 15th deadline. And then, of course, the 11,000 who voted who weren't on the voter rolls, the 7th of November, but showed up in December on the 4th of December. And then, of course, the 18,000 who voted and were removed from the rolls after the election. But then the biggest data point that jumped out at all of us was the fact that over 74,000 mail-in ballots occurred without any evidence of anything having been sent to them. So this is where
really seven times the total
the delta, right?
Lost by, yeah.
That's just. And think about this, the memo that we now have found that Maricopa County sent out that said, hey, Sharpies are what the rule of the day will be on election day. And, I just tried it last night on a regular piece of paper in my printer using a Sharpie as though I were filling in a bubble. And clearly, it bled through to the other side, which then, of course, calls into question the ballot and makes it have to be adjudicated. And the fact that Sharpies were encouraged just solely for election day really begs the question that, as everyone knew, Republicans who waited to vote on election day, as they did in my 4 counties, predominantly did show up on that day. So we have to keep moving forward. We have to keep moving the ball down the field. We have to open one door so that we go to the next one and seek out the truth. We have to expose the fraud, and we've got to get our country back. And there are just no two ways about it.
That's right. I think it was 168,000 of these ballots were printed on site on the incorrect paper that allowed for bleed-throughs as well. So Jack Sellers, he released a bogus statement where he deflected. He said, you're wrong. He said you should be ashamed. And he basically said, prepare to defend the report. The county, Maricopa County, did the same thing on Twitter, deflecting bogus fact checks. What do you think of their response?
I think the cover-up is always worse than the crime. And I think that they only have evidence to cover up, if they're so intransigent and they're so resistant to us looking into the truth. And I was just asked on another interview, why are they this way? And I can only surmise that they're deeply embarrassed. When they signed up to be a county official, little did they know that by taking the oath, that they would be ultimately responsible for what a national election could hinge on. Little did they know. I mean, little did I know when I ran for state senate that I would be in a pivotal role as a state senator. But of course, the U.S. Constitution supports that fact that state legislatures are responsible unequivocally for presidential elections.
That's right. So, yeah, we're still waiting for the passwords, the Splunk logs, and the routers from the county. Do you know what the next step in enforcing those subpoenas are?
We have to enforce them. And I know President Fann is such a strong woman, and I have just absolute profound, deep respect for her. And I have every confidence that she will find a way to follow through on enforcement. And you know, Jordan, I predict one day even Democrats will turn on other Democrats when the fraud is finally exposed. It's already starting to happen. It's starting to unravel in New York in the Democrat mayor's race. And I believe we need to audit every county in all 50 states who used these machines. Any election that uses these machines is not secure. And these things have shared passwords. They can be hacked. They're connected to the internet. It's astounding that no one has stopped this before.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And I just got off the call, or I just got off a call with David Shistowskas. He told me that the state legislature has plenary authority to decertify the election, but that would have to go through both the House and the Senate in a joint resolution. Do we have the votes for that?
I think that remains to be seen. I think in the meantime, as we plod through, that we have to keep this top of mind. We have to finish the audit. We have to hold the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors accountable, to include possibly sending them to jail. There is already enough information to justify this. We need a majority to do anything, as you alluded to. So really, it's a situation where people need to be convinced this is the best course of action. And, this is absolutely imperative, important, and I will be fighting.
Yes, you are an inspiration. You just had back-to-back mentions from President Trump for your bravery in this historic rally for states' rights. What message do you have for other state legislators in Arizona and across the country to stand up for their constituents?
Well, but for Arizona, and as you know, I hosted numerous out-of-state legislators, senators, and state reps, and I believe they will be emboldened, and I believe they will be encouraged by everything that we do. And so I'm in constant contact. As you know, I got all their numbers and names and everything in my phone, and now they can't escape me. And so, we correspond frequently throughout the day. I'm in touch with Georgia, Pennsylvania, Washington State, Virginia, Wisconsin, and I'm encouraging them. And who knows, I may go out to visit them later on this summer. Brick by brick by brick, we're going to fix this and get to the truth, because it's not only important for 2022. I get that, and we'll pursue that, but we have to find the truth that happened in 2020.
That's right. You have shown incredible leadership throughout this. Thank you, Senator Rogers. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, Jordan. God bless everyone.
Well, you heard it right here. Very interesting news here. I'm in Arizona, and I am really happy with my my senators. I'm not happy with Ducey, and definitely a rhino, and we're going to do everything we can to vote him out in this next election. That's for sure. At any rate, moving on to the next report. It says Arizona Senate leader Karen Fann sent packages containing white powder. Leftists ramp up threats against Fann and her family following media reports. Arizona Senate President Karen Fann spoke with Western Journal last week for an in-depth interview on the historic forensic audit of Maricopa County. Fann said Friday that she is burned out and wants to retire. Fann told Western Journal that on a third of her emails are incredibly vile hate. Apparently, her staff allows the abusive mail to get through. Fann explained how the hate is triggering and ramps up when liberal media attacks her. Karen Fann and her family regularly receive death threats. Fann recently received a package containing white powder which forced changes to her security. Karen Fann. It's escalated. A couple of months ago, while the white envelope. We tested it, and it was an antihistamine that somebody had ground up into a powder. So it was somebody, obviously, who was not serious about that. Yes, but I noticed that the more the media ramps this up, it does stir up a certain segment of the population. There was an email last week that said something about my family should die or something like that, so I just turned it over to DPS. Now remember, this is a nationwide/worldwide thing, so some of these threats are not coming from Arizona people. One came from California, some came from other areas, and for some reason it's really hard to track down. Obviously, Karen Fann is under enormous pressure. Her voice and body language suggest she just wants to be done with it all, and soon. Hat tip Mark. Hey, do you want to listen to her? Let's go ahead and play it.
Do it. So on the note of where I go from here, I'm pretty burnt out right now, so you might have to ask me 6 months from now where I'm going.
Hopefully we're done in 6 months. So I was going to ask you, I figured you must be getting threats. Is that anything that you've taken seriously? Do you have reason to believe that there's, actual danger to you or to your members here? Potential actual danger?
It's escalated. I can tell you when this whole thing first started, they were just kind of side remarks, one thing or another. And then, as I said, then it's kind of escalated. A couple of months ago was the white envelope. And so we had to go through all of the security procedures around here. And luckily they tested it and found out it was antihistamine that somebody had ground up into a powder. So it was somebody obviously that was not serious about that.
And too much time on their hands.
But yes, I noticed that the more that the media ramps this up and the more that there's this information, it does stir up a certain segment of the population.
Sure.
And I can see the ramping up. That was, there was an email last week that said something about my family should die or something like that. So I just turn it all over to DPS. DPS. Now remember, this is a nationwide/worldwide thing. So some of these threats are not coming from Arizona people.
Right.
One of them came from California. There's a couple that came from other areas. Some it's really hard to track down because it's all internet. And you know what they say about the internet, you just never know where it's coming from.
It's true. It's true. So once it is all said and done, once you have results, audits complete, how do you assure Arizonans and actually, to your point, the world really, that the results of the audit are trustworthy? The entry point to this whole conversation is sort of around distrust or at least questioning whether some of this stuff is trustworthy. So how do you turn that around?
Well, as I said, I've told them all along, you better be able to prove this stuff 6 ways from Sundays.
Yeah.
You can't just say this. So consequently, everything that they are doing, I'll go back to the 24-hour filming. Not only is the entire operation under 24-hour filming, but over all of those tables that you saw, if you've seen in the pictures of the hand audit, there are cameras over every one of them. And those cameras have captured every single ballot, every live streaming, every time, recording, I should say, not live streaming, but recording. Every time a ballot was touched, it's been watched the whole time. So as we have these documents and say, these ballots aren't matching up, this and that and the other, when we go to court, all of that data is being preserved so that we can say, and under lock and key, so we can take it to the court and say, here, look for yourself. Nobody tampered with anything. Nobody did anything. We saw that these were the problems here. You can do this. And as I said, the boxes of the ballots, we're putting security tape on them. So we don't want, based on what Maricopa County has done to date, quite honestly, we don't trust them on anything anymore. And I'm sorry to say that, but
Yeah.
when they've done everything in their power to try and sabotage this, then there are a lot of people saying, why would you give the ballots back to them? Because they'll mess with them. Well, I can't be affording to spend 24-hour security on those ballots for the rest of,
Yeah,
for however. So we need to give them back, but we are putting all the security on it, so we will know if somebody tampered with them.
So it seems pretty clear we haven't seen anything that we would say rises to the level of criminal activity or even potential criminal activity.
Not yet.
Any reason to believe that would change?
Whatever.
Have you seen anything that might even hint that would say, oh, we got to look at that one pretty closely? There, any smoke that might be indicative of a fire, I guess is what I'm asking.
I am always very leery about ever jumping out and saying, oh, I think there was fraud or criminal activity or not, because you really can't do that until you have the proof. You can always say 2 and 2 is not adding up to 4. You can certainly say, I've got questions because this isn't working out. But to literally accuse somebody of intentionally criminal activity or fraud or something like that, I'm always very careful not to jump out and do that, because nobody should be disparaged that way unless there's proof.
Okay. And I think one last question for you, Senator. First of all, thank you for all of this time. We're very grateful for it. I think you're clearing up a lot of issues. There is, to your point, a lot of information out there, a lot of misinformation out there, and it's sometimes hard to tell the difference between the two. So the Western Journal, we lean right. We try to be fair, but we lean right. We make no bones about that. Don't try to hide that at all. But we have plenty of people who read us who don't, who are they're fair-minded. They're just looking for information. And there are, as I'm sure you know, there are plenty of people even on the left who look at the mainstream media and think, okay, these guys have gone off the deep end.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to them? What would you say to a Democrat or somebody more liberal, somebody who didn't vote for Donald Trump? Why does this election matter? Why does this audit matter to those folks?
Great question, because the sad thing is the rhetoric has gotten so high on this that it's very hard to even talk to Democrats about this,
Right.
because they are 100% convinced in their mind that that there's no problem with the elections, and that, this is all just, the right being crazy and doing the things that they call us all the time. So it's very hard, because a lot of people are dug in at this point. But for those who really are intelligent and have open minds, and truly they may be left, but that doesn't mean that they want the curtain pulled over their eyes. For those, I'm saying, just give us a chance. Give the vendors, the auditors, a chance to show what they come up with or what they don't come up with. And then ask them to prove it 6 ways from Sunday. And then if they do, then have an open enough mind to say, you know what, I think we do have some problems and we need to fix it. Or if they don't prove it, then fine, you can say, okay, I don't think that there's any problem, and I'll go to the booths, the voting booths next year, and know that there's no problems. Either way, I want them to go to the booths knowing that there is no problems.
Right. Regardless of who they're going to vote for.
Regardless
You
of
want them
who.
to come out.
That's exactly
I have my
right.
preferences, but yeah.
Yeah.
So you heard it here. Very interesting news there, for sure. Well, at any rate, this is Don V with Truth Be Told. Hope you enjoyed these reports. A lot to disseminate. A lot of information there. A lot of alleged information. Got to say alleged. So that way I don't get in trouble. Thank you for watching my video, broadcasting out of sunny skies down here in Arizona. And everybody have a wonderful week. This is Don V with Truth Be Told, and we are out of here.